Hello, my name is Stephen Seal, and I'm presenting a video defense of my research paper titled How Flemish Textiles Transformed England and Led to the United States. This study examines how the disruption of Flemish textile production during the 100 Years' War, combined with the devastation of the Black Death, transformed England's economy, society, and long-term global trajectory. I argue that what began as a wartime reaction to economic crisis evolved into a structural revolution that set England on a path toward capitalism, empire, and eventually the English-speaking world we know today. To understand these transformations, we must begin with England's feudal foundations. In the early 14th century, royal power was fragile, balanced precariously between the king and the nobility. The Magna Carta of 1215 and the rise of Parliament began the slow process of limiting autocratic power. Although these developments offered little freedom to serfs, they created a framework that would later allow for social mobility. Feudalism was an economic order built on land and obligation. When those obligations eroded, the ripple effects were immense. England's gradual shift from feudal monarchy to parliamentary monarchy provided the institutional flexibility that made later economic adaptation possible. By the 1330s, England's raw wool was the lifeblood of Flanders' textile industry. But when the Count of Flanders sided with France during the 100 Years' War, King Edward III imposed a wool embargo in 1336. This embargo triggered revolt among the Flemish merchant class, who then aligned with Edward. Edward seized the opportunity, inviting Flemish weavers and dyers to settle in England. Their expertise fueled the birth of a native textile industry, transforming English wool from a mere export commodity into the foundation of domestic manufacturing. Towns like Norwich and York became early industrial hubs, the beginnings of an urban mercantile society. When the plague struck in 1348, it decimated England's population, but shattered rigid labor hierarchy. With labor scarce, lords had to pay wages and free many serfs to keep their estates running. For the first time, peasants became wage earners. Some moved to growing towns and entered textile work, accelerating the shift from a land-based to a monetary economy. In this sense, the Black Death didn't destroy England, it remade it. Over the following centuries, the textile boom reshaped England's towns, strengthened merchant guilds, and shifted power from hereditary nobility to urban enterprise. The wealth generated by cloth financed exploration, trade, and ultimately colonization. By Tudor times, England was exporting finished cloth across Europe and forbidding the export of raw wool to protect its own markets. These early protectionist and industrial policies laid the groundwork for both the Industrial Revolution and England's emergence as a global power, the same economic and cultural forces that would give rise to the United States. In conclusion, the story of Flemish textiles is far more than an economic footnote. It is the story of how war, plague, and trade combined to dismantle feudalism and forge a new social order. The thread that ran from Flanders to England ultimately wove the fabric of modern history, connecting the looms of the 14th century to the industrial and democratic revolutions that followed. Thank you.